Leather chaps with the sock hop.
That's pretty good.
That's like the best thing I think anyone's ever said about me. Hey everybody, thanks for having me.
Under all this spill.
How long?
45 minutes.
That means I'll probably read for about 10.
10 minutes, perfect.
Okay.
Tired of you already, man.
Okay, let's see. Okay. So hey, I'm Grant. Thanks for having me. Thanks for putting this reading on. I don't know. This is the first time here, and I guess you've been doing it for what, like
10 years.
10 years, and I don't know how I missed it. I'm really bummed that I wasted so much time. I was also a bartender for a long time, so I could never do anything. So I was always at work, you know. But anyway, I'm gonna read some poems from a manuscript I've been working on, and then read some pieces. They're prose pieces, I guess, from a chapbook that I've been working on for the past little bit. This one is from a manuscript called How to Treat the Sky, and it's called I Still Haven't Really Told You About My Father. I still haven't really told you about my father. Before he knocked the sky in, he sat black-gloved in a 1968 Gran Torino and realized the extent to which we all die. Stop in the name of love. Grabbled through the broken speakers, he took one of the gloves off and put the empty leather fingers on his throat. He swung Kershaw blades at the wind on Saturdays. He traced clouds with his stone fingers, and he named them and unnamed them. He rapped his knuckles on the helmet of my spacesuit and told me stories about a brother I didn't have. He peeled at his own skin and braided it in strips and offered them to my mother. She held out her hands and took his skin into the forest. I couldn't tell you what she did there. I'm gonna do a few.
That was the plan.
I inherited this spacesuit from my father. Over my mother's protests, he held me in front of a mirror to show what I lacked, propped me up in the corners of blue bedrooms, and force-fed words into my suit. I drank language like milk, sharpened my budding teeth on the slick edges of verbs while my father hid away in his tool shed and hammered nails into the wood of our family. He slung us on his back while my mother wove the skin that would replace the flat blue planets of her eyes. I was born in that spacesuit. I didn't have an apartment or a face or any way to get around. I was born in the left boot and spread thin by my mother's fingers. Long before her eyes were replaced with skin, she pasted me to the walls of my suit with a putty knife. The mornings found me bled out. I almost died once. I made a bargain with God, but he was already gone. My tongue suffered the most. It swelled in my mouth as my head grew. The blue lava of the sky boiled over into my suit and floated me. So that's that from that.
Boom!
I started writing this new chapbook thing because I think after the election, I don't know how some folks, as artists, were kind of like, well, now what are we going to do, because we can't just write poems about our mothers and fathers, and, we maybe need to do something that, but then what do you do, like write a thing like, oh, this guy sucks, or what, that's not really helpful. So I just kind of threw my hat in the ring, and I'm just doing the best I can here, so. This one is from a chapbook. It's called The 45th President of the United States and I Went to Longhorn Steakhouse for a Late Lunch. And this piece is called I Met the 45th President of the United States for Drinks. I met the 45th President of the United States for drinks at a hotel airport bar because he said he liked people only when they were either arriving or departing. He didn't appreciate any state of being that lay in between. We had too many cocktails, and we tried to play trivia, but no one would let us. I ended up paying for everything. I took the 45th president back to my apartment. In the kitchen, I peeled his shirt off. He didn't have a body under his shirt, but there was a cave. I grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer, and I climbed inside the 45th president and slowly slid myself down his cool and slick surface. I heard a sound of distant water, not quite running, but not completely stagnant. The water was more of a slow, dredging groan. When I saw the I-55 bridge, I knew that it was the Mississippi River running through the 45th president. I clutched the river's banks, ran my fingers through its brittle grass. There in the darkness, it felt so good to be home.
Woo! Yeah!
Thanks. I'll do one more from that book. I'm going to do a few different ones, but I'm going to splice them through. This one's called The 45th President of the United States of America Said He Wanted to Learn How to Swim. The 45th President of the United States of America said he wanted to learn how to swim. We drove to Sardis Lake, and I led him to the water. A snake made a V in the water, and the 45th President reached out and grabbed the snake, and the snake coiled itself around the 45th President's forearm. Snakes are not nearly as slimy as they look, the 45th President said. If this snake could talk, I wonder what it would say. The 45th President set the snake free, and it swam away. I wrapped my arms around the 45th President's torso, and I floated him in the water, and I let him go. He flailed his arms and legs, but couldn't stay afloat. I pulled him from the water and dragged him onto a boat ramp. His breath was heavy. Beads of water slid down his skin. He began to cry. I put my arm around his shoulder and pulled him close. He smelled like suntan lotion, and I wanted to tell him I loved him. Instead, I said, I believe that snake would say that you are not the sum of your failures. The 45th President of the United States smiled, and I noticed for the first time that his teeth were filed down to points.
Oh!
Thank you. I'm going to read just a couple of poems from... I moved to Alabama last summer, and then my wife A.M. O'Malley, who did a reading here, her and I were writing a book together, and we started writing kind of poems about the distance between us, and it's become the second half of the book. It's called Duel or Duet. So this is the duet portion. So I'm just going to read some of those pieces, or two of those pieces real quick. Oh, there it is. It's called Avatar of Altruism. I turned away from your voice when I stopped breathing. I forgot your mouth was a wading pool for doves and serpents. I had a nickname for you. It shot off my tongue like a cannonball and turned the world to powder. It was hot that night on that sidewalk where I saw your earths shift, and I led you by the arm to the place where I was going to dig out your heart for the first time. I promised you 25 little deaths by my poisonous tongue, 25 executions in the jaws of starved beast, 25 ways to be killed by what you love. There are too many ways to die. As many as there are things scurrying on this wilting planet, there is nothing special in love. It is the soft underbelly of our death march. One day people will gather around our tombstones, wherever they lie, on this vast falsehood of a landscape, and they will remember how we bore thousands of tiny children into the symbolic order, but they will never quite know how we died. Alright, I'll do one more from that one. They're like murder love poems, right? I was no more lonely than a lingering cloud when you lent me your voice. I took you to the bridge where we admired the black water, and like you, I do not fear death. Like you, I am not afraid of water and the depths it conceals. Like you, I know how to elope. I am fully capable of weeping in the rain with this prize-fighting distance and its left hook. You mentioned the field behind your house. You know the one. The devil's horns clung to your feet. The self with the mouth full of juicy fruit. Your chipped nail polish. The slick plastic of sliced cheese. The trembling fear as you handed over the leash that would one day choke you. I saw you with your eyes closed, those earths spinning behind your eyelids, that soft brain pulsing in your skull, the parts that light up in the boundless black breath of my nights.
lot.
Keep going.
Yeah.
We like it.
More.
love it.
More.
Okay, geez Louise. Anyway, thanks for having me. This is awesome. Tomorrow's my birthday, by the way. Yeah. We're leaving tomorrow morning to go back to Alabama, so tonight we're kind of celebrating the birthday. So thanks for all coming to my birthday party. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. I just turned 21. It's got my first beer in the bar there. It's great. This one's called. This one's called "The 45th President of the United States and I went to Longhorn Steakhouse for a late lunch." The 45th President of the United States and I went to Longhorn Steakhouse for a late lunch. We sat poring over the menu as the server brought over a lump of stale bread. "What are you going to have?" the 45th President asked. "I'm not sure," I said. "What are you going to have?" "Not sure," the 45th President said. "I was thinking maybe the ribeye," I said. I took the bread knife and sawed the stale bread into pieces. "That's what I was thinking too," the 45th President said. "I bet the pork chops are good too, though." "I bet they are," I said. "Would you get mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, or rice pilaf?" "Not sure," the 45th President said. "You?" "I might just do a salad," I said. "But you get a salad anyway," the 45th President reminded me. The server came over to take our order, but the 45th President of the United States waved her away. "Maybe I'll get mashed potatoes then," I said. "How about you get a baked potato, loaded with cheddar and bacon," the 45th President said, "and I'll get rice pilaf and we can share." "That sounds good," I said. "What about steaks?" "I'm still thinking those pork chops might be pretty good," the 45th President said. On second thought, "I'm not really feeling the pork chops," I said. "Not feeling the pork chops, huh?" I watched the 45th President of the United States' eyes jerk over the menu. He tore off a piece of stale bread and slathered on the white whipped butter. "What about the fried chicken?" I said. "If there's one thing I've learned in life," the 45th President of the United States of America said, "it's that you only get fried chicken from a fried chicken place." He looked up at me and winked. When he winked, his eye fell out onto the table. He picked it up and examined it with his other eye and shook his head. "Aren't you going to pop it back in?" I asked the 45th President of the United States. "I don't think I want to," the 45th President said. "I've never in my life held something so fragile in my hands."
Hey-o!
Thank you. I'll just read one, two, maybe one. No.
Just read 6 more, man.
Read 100 more.
6 more.
All those pages would be just fine.
We're
How can we
putting
talk
in
to
your
the second
hands.
one?
All of the pages.
8, and
good.
that's the final answer.
Well, I have one that,
Do it.
so Josh Gaines, is he?
Yeah.
Thought Crime Press, Not My President, the anthology. It's called Not My President, the anthology. Yeah. That's going out soon. But he was nice enough to pick up one of these pieces, and I was going to read it, but I can't really seem to find it, so I'll just read whatever I
The
find.
publisher should have it on him. Do you have it on you?
Yeah, you should have it at all times.
Yeah.
Let's see
Some
here.
publisher.
It's been my
Great.
experience. It's been my experience.
Sorry,
No, no worries.
I don't like that one. We'll just do this one. Oh, here's one. This one's called "The 45th President of the United States and I Went Grocery Shopping." The 45th President of the United States and I went grocery shopping. He said he'd been craving some kind of white fish with mango chutney. We picked out 2 halibut steaks, filled our basket with onions and cilantro. The 45th President ran his fingers along a row of mangoes. He held one up and examined it. "This is the best one," the 45th President said. I held the basket out for him, but he slipped the mango into the pocket of his suit jacket. "What else do we need?" the 45th President asked me. I looked around to see if anyone saw the 45th President of the United States steal the mango. "We need rice vinegar," I said, "and honey." I followed the 45th President to the vinegar aisle and watched him slide a bottle of rice wine vinegar into his pants pocket. In the honey aisle, he stuck a honey bear in his other pants pocket. "That's everything," I told the 45th President, even though we still hadn't picked out any limes. We headed to the checkout. Excuse me. We headed to the checkout as a security guard grabbed the 45th President by the arm. "I'll need you to come with me," the security guard said to the 45th President of the United States. The 45th President put his hands into his mouth and unhinged his jaw and put his mouth over the security guard's head. The 45th President made a slight sucking sound. The security guard and the 45th President fell over sideways onto the floor as the security guard disappeared inside the 45th President in a few brief contractions. I could see the outline of the security guard protruding from the 45th President's stomach. The 45th President slithered back to the produce section and curled up under a display of Roma tomatoes and went to sleep. A young man in a green apron, wheeling a cart of bananas in boxes, came up to me and asked if I needed any help finding anything. I told him I didn't, but thank you. "You're welcome," he said. He wheeled the bananas over to an empty display and started carefully stacking the bananas in neat little rows. Thank you.
He does have it actually. I didn't mean to call you out. It's kind of funny.
I have it in here somewhere. But thank you.
Oh my god.
I'll just read.
Forever. It's hilarious. I know.
I'll just read a couple of poems from the Dueler Duet. The first part we wrote was called Duel, and we each brought 30 poems. And we did a writing residency workshop at Mother Foucault's where we just had typewriters to work with. It was really awesome, and we were there for a week, every day for a week. And I gave her my 30 poems, and she gave me her 30 poems, and we did kind of like translations of them, or like I would do like an antonymic translation of her poem, or in some way that the work would engage with each other. And then the second part was that sort of back and forth that we did. But the first part was a lot of fun because, like, some of the poems now, I look at them and I don't know if I wrote this poem or if you wrote this poem or what. But it's just funny watching the work kind of evolve like that and do weird things. But this one's called Logic. And I'm done writing about father and mother. I'm done. Moving on. My father left a light on for me. I never went home. There's a story I tell myself. A shadow on the bed frame, a heartbeat on the other side of those mountains. It doesn't listen. I went one way and then another until I wound up here. My father's dresser with the loose change, the pack of cigarettes, the revolver. I learned a thing or two about logic that day. It is a lie written into a cloud. It is a lost shoe in the gravel beside the railroad tracks. It is a drained swimming pool. It is a bowed tree. It is graffiti scribbled onto a tombstone. It is a broken necklace. It is the white blooms on a hacked limb of kudzu. I am not my choices. I am not my viscera. My sleep is an empty blood-soaked fishhook. My waking is a chorus of saws. My dreams are a snake on the surface of a black pond. My past, it longs for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna read maybe like 2 more pieces, and then we'll stop. This one's called. Oh no, I lost it.
There was one on the floor.
Is that it?
One hit the floor, dude.
Is it this one? Oh God! No, it's not that one.
Freaky for a 21-year-old.
I know, right? I know.
We all age well.
Oh, here it is. I'll just read 2 more of these Trump pieces and then maybe one more poem and then I'll move on. This one's called The 45th President of the United States and I Went for Sushi. The 45th President of the United States of America and I went for sushi. The waiter's skin was made out of paper. He handed us crayons and told us to draw what we wanted on his back. I drew a crude drawing of a galaxy and the President drew a mouth. The waiter walked back into the kitchen where the sushi chef peeled our order off of the server's back and hung it on a ticket rack and shook his head. I couldn't see the chef's hands, but we heard the sudden hiss of frying meat. "Something's not right," the 45th President of the United States said. He called the server over and asked for fresh crayons. He drew a lake on the server's back. We took off our shoes and tested the water with our toes. An old woman in a booth by the window shook her head at us. A mother pushing a stroller by our table scoffed. The 45th President of the United States' feet were wet. When the stroller erupted with frantic weeping, the mother stopped, lifted her baby from the stroller cradle, and put the baby on her shoulder in an attempt to console it, though the baby was inconsolable.
Nice. Yes.
Okay, I'll just read one more of these Trump pieces and then one more little poem and then I'm done. The 45th President of the United States and I went to a dance party. The 45th President of the United States and I went to a dance party. The party was 90s themed, and I wore a t-shirt with a flannel tied around my waist by the sleeves. The 45th President of the United States wore a hypercolor t-shirt. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
I read this for like people in my cohort and they're like, "What the fuck's a hypercolor t-shirt?" And I was like, anyway. There was a keg in the bathroom and we filled plastic cups with yellow beer. People were dancing in the living room. The DJ was playing Belle Biv DeVoe and I eased onto the dance floor. The 45th President of the United States leaned against a far wall and sipped his beer.